my question to Congressman Jody Arrington, who joins me now. Now, we've got a lot of other things to discuss, but Congressman, here's the audience, in this case, Dave in Michigan and others who are asking the questions, what can be done about Obamacare? Democrats fought for subsidies they never got, they shouldn't get, but now the speed and efficacy in doing something about it.
Well, the caller's right. Obamacare is a rotten egg. He said it. It's true. It's rotten because the taxes, the mandates, the regulations are structurally flawed, and they push premiums and deductibles up. We've now had a doubling and even tripling of cost in Obamacare, and taxpayers are fronting it. So it's been a failed experiment, okay? Let's just all call it what it is. But Republicans, it's incumbent on Republicans, to the caller's point, to have reforms. Look, if ACA is not going away, you can go after the cost share recovery, the medical loss ratio. These are the guts of the Obamacare program that would, in the case of the cost share recovery, which is just another way, if we could dig in, it's another way that the insurance companies are gaming the system to get more money by increasing premiums. We had it in our House big, beautiful bill. The Democrats fought it in the Senate, even though President Obama was for this reform. It would have saved taxpayers $30 billion. It would have lowered premiums, according to the Congressional Budget Office, by 12%. So that's just within the ACA in terms of reforms, but there's association health plans, there's site-neutral payments. David, we're paying hospitals more than we pay physician groups for the same outpatient procedures. If we just equalize payments, and by the way, this is another Obama and Biden proposal that Trump also included in his budget in his first term, it would save taxpayers $150 billion, and we would stop the consolidation that is reducing patients' choice and making us price takers and having the cost of care run away. So plenty of things to do that will actually bring down the cost of health care, not artificially subsidize the cost and actually prop up a program that's driving cost up. That's what the Obamacare enhanced premiums would have done. That's why Democrats couldn't even make it a permanent fixture when they had total control a few years ago. They couldn't even get the votes to make it then, but that's what their demands somehow were in this shutdown.
And I'll add this, and then we'll pivot to why I asked you to join me this morning, Congressman. Right now, at the NHS in the UK, junior doctors, a.k.a. emergency care doctors primarily, are on strike. Socialized medicine comes with so many drawbacks and flat-out failures. Now, why you're here, and I will now officially present you. If we had fanfare music, I would play it with what I've called over the years the Bill Frist Time in Service Award. One of the reasons I always admired the doctor and over the years, it was he did exactly what he said he would do when he went in. He joined the Senate. He served his 2 terms. He went back to being Dr. Frist. Always liked having Bill on the show, having conversations off air, even for that matter. The idea of service. You are not seeking re-election after serving a decade in Congress, and appropriately so, by the way, for the caller, House Budget Committee Chairman. So why the complexity and clarity of your answer on Obamacare makes sense. But, to you and to what you've said about your conviction that public service, that you have the same conviction as our founders that public service is a lifetime commitment, but public office should be a temporary stint. Kudos.
That's right. I mean, that's the way it was modeled by George Washington, the father of the country. I mean, he could have stayed. There were a lot of reasons he could justify staying, but, we didn't fight against a king and the rule and tyranny of a king to perpetuate that with, career presidents. And I don't believe they envision career politicians in Congress either. I've tried to lead on this issue. I've been the chair of the Term Limit Caucus. I introduced, along with a colleague and friend, Ro Khanna, Democrat, the first bipartisan term limit legislation that President Trump endorsed in his first term. I thought and told him it would be one of the best ways to drain the swamp. It is a personal conviction. I feel really good about leaving it right here. I fought hard. I believe I served well. The big, beautiful bill was my capstone legislative achievement, David, and to resource the president, to rebuild the military, to give him the tools to make America safer. The tax cuts for working families, cutting spending by twice as much as we've ever cut in history, $1.5 trillion, which the debt is a passion of mine. It is the biggest concern of mine. I think it's the biggest threat to our future and to our economy and national security. So I'm going to ride off into the big, beautiful sunset of West Texas and live under the laws that I passed, because public office and congressional service should be a short-term stint in stewardship. And I pray that history will prove that, at least in my time, for my tenure, that we did our part to steward it well.
So good news about your district, as you mentioned that, and out there, Lubbock, the anchor. I've not been to Lubbock in years, but I remember some great barbecue joints as well. Heavily Republican, so the decision here does not likely put Republicans in danger in your district. That's an R plus, so it's a solid district. It's also rural America, and for those of you that just look up Lubbock and the surrounding areas, you'll get the idea. But talk about the district and what rural America represents. You've represented it, but what it represents to the nation.
Oh, David, that just thank you for that question. I just want your listeners to hear from me my perspective about what some call flyover country. I know the president, I think, referred in his first speech to rural Americans as the forgotten men and women. They're the hardworking, God-fearing, freedom-loving people who put food on the tables for our families and clothes on our backs and make the wheels turn in this, the greatest economy in the world. It is food security and energy independence that we enjoy and are blessed with because of the folks living, the plowboys, cowboys, the roughnecks and roustabouts out there, doing what they do to give us safe, affordable, abundant supply of ag and energy. But what I always say, David, is, and I mean this with all my heart, and this is what I'm going to miss most, it's the people. I mean, we are the breadbasket. We are the energy basin. But the folks out in West Texas and rural communities around the country are not just that. They are the backbone of America's traditional values. Freedom, family, faith, self-sufficiency, all these things that I think are the key ingredients to this experiment in liberty and democracy. So that's what I'll miss the most, but that is absolutely their greatest contribution to this republic.
In principles, conservative principles, fiscal conservatism, and more, you're a man of faith. And how much did your faith guide you? And in some cases, was it necessary to support you working in what I refer to at times as the cesspool of Washington, D.C.? There are good people there, but Washington, D.C. has problems.
I think the culture of Washington and some of the institutional reforms are the things we ought to focus on for the best long-term results for the American people. And that's including term limits, by the way, and balanced budget amendments and the like. But in terms of changing the culture, I knew what I believed about government's limited role. I had strong convictions about the direction that I thought we should take this country and the role of the federal government in the life of the free and sovereign states and we the people. But I think what's equally important, David, is not just doing the right things by your convictions, okay, by the Constitution as my North Star or my constituents. It's doing it the right way. That's where my faith, I think, helped me the most, is to not ascribe motive, is to not personally attack people. You don't have to apologize for what you believe. You don't have to fight any less hard for your convictions, and treat people with love and respect. And, so following Jesus' example, I mean, I didn't live up to it always. I mean, I fall short constantly, but I prayerfully attempt to love people and treat them with respect. And that allowed me to develop friendships and deep relationships with people that don't always agree with me, but we were able to find some common ground, I think, just because we turned down the noise and we weren't taking the bait. And that, I think we would just be better off as a country. Quite frankly, I think the Republican Party, because that's my association, so I'll talk about my family, I think we'd do better to stop all of that and just win hearts and minds like my hero, Ronald Reagan. Just win hearts and minds to our values and principles and what America represents in our vision, not just to our country and to the future, our children and generations of Americans, but to the entire world. We need a little more inspiration, David. I will continue to pray for our country.
Congressman Jody Arrington, Texas 19. Sir, before you leave, we're going to have a long chat on air. I appreciate it.
God bless you, David. Thanks for the time.